Welcome to another episode of Just Some Points. As every week, I'm looking forward to what's new, and I hear from Catherine and Melissa, who are our digital team, what they found, what's new. Who wants to start? Catherine, why are you first today?
Sure. So this week I'm going to talk about the new Q&A feature that TikTok is launching. So what it is, it's users can comment on posts just like normal, but they can click an extra button to have their comment be listed as a question so that the creators can go back and answer the questions either by like text comment or they can create a video with the comment. So it's pretty much just like normal, except TikTok has a new feed now where it takes all of the questions listed as, or comments listed as questions, and puts it in one feed so that people can go and see it. The reason that I wanted to talk about this is because it's something that I've noticed across TikTok. I started scrolling through it recently, and I noticed that so many people ask the creators questions as simple as lifestyle questions about the people to where's that shirt you're wearing from and things like that. So I think that it's just a great new option that TikTok has, and it really shows that they're paying attention to how their users interact with the app, and they're really evolving with how people are using it. So it just kind of shows that they really care about the users and they want to create the best platform for them. And again, with all the competition that we're talking about with, the YouTube Shorts and Instagram Reels and all those new, how people are kind of using that in the video based into their platform, I think it's just great to show that TikTok is kind of staying one step ahead of everybody else and just going along with what users want to see on the platform.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm not a TikTok user per se, but I would say I'll probably watch some TikTok videos every day because my adult kids just sent them off. And I would say the last 2 months, I felt like there's also a switch a little bit of the type of TikToks you get and the type of content you get. You don't just get the goofy stuff, you get more also brands and other stuff. And I'm wondering what you're just talking about, if that is also part of a result of TikTok getting into education. We talked about that last year at one point, that I think they had some pilots going in England. I haven't followed it, what the status is on that, but they had some partnerships in England where we wanted to use the TikTok platform for education purposes, for which Q&As would probably make a lot of sense. So it would be it's interesting. I definitely feel that after the whole politicization actually went away the last few months around TikTok, they moved on and are now, keep transforming somehow.
Right.
Yeah, I also think that this new feature kind of gives more quality to the engagement that videos are getting. It's no longer just sharing links and liking, a video. It's actually engaging with these creators and these brands that are going to start using these features. So I think that it's also going to just start driving like much more high quality engagement overall.
I would agree with that. The last week we talked about Facebook and how we're all kind of confused what their strategic direction is, that they're all over the place. With TikTok, I find I just have the opposite impression, that they know exactly what they're working on and the direction they want to go and how they actually improve and expand their platform.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, very interesting. Keep close to that and keep watching them. I mean, it would be interesting to see how they evolve, and we should keep reporting on that.
Yeah.
Melissa?
So what I'm going to talk about today is actually a follow-up to one of our previous episodes regarding WordPress versus Squarespace, Wix, and other proprietary systems. This past week, WordPress launched 5.0, which is called Esperanza. And there are a lot of new features that actually highlight what we've talked about a couple of weeks ago, where WordPress is really transforming and becoming a more user-friendly, known for no website development knowledge, no coding knowledge needed whatsoever in order to create these websites. Historically speaking, WordPress was never seen in the same light as Squarespace and Wix. Everybody thought you needed, it was more complex, and everybody thought you needed some sort of, coding experience in order to achieve what you were looking for, because it's a very native platform that you pretty much have to manually work yourself, whereas like Squarespace does a lot of the work for you. But a lot of these new features in 5.7 are going to make a really big difference and a really big push. The first one being one-click conversion between HTTP to HTTPS. So for those of you who don't know, in order for your website to be secure, you need an SSL certificate. And back in the day, it used to be a very cumbersome process to get that SSL certificate installed. But with this 5.7 update, it's literally one click, and you make that change, and you don't have to do any site files. There's no risk of breaking your site like there was in the past. So that's a really—
They provide the SSL?
Yes, I believe they do. Or you get it from your domain and it's just like a one-click switch. So that was, a very daunting thing that's going to make a really big difference in how the public views how easy it is to use WordPress. The second biggest update I saw was regarding their editor feature, their native editor. Previously, a lot of people relied on third-party plugins that were page builders so that you could easily drag and drop and create blocks and things like that. But this new native editor is going to have that drag and drop feature, and they're going to have reusable blocks where you can save blocks as a library and then you can pull them into other pages. It's a whole lot more that you can do with this native plugin, native WordPress feature than with a plugin anymore. So not only is it better for the user from a building perspective, but it's also better from an SEO and page speed, because then you don't need that third-party plugin anymore.
Wow. Those are big changes. It will be interesting to see, actually, but I probably can answer the question myself. One of the things with Wix and those companies, and what's the other company's name?
Squarespace.
Squarespace. We talked about that their platforms are really not optimized for SEO, and the challenges they have. They developed top down, where making the user interface very, very good, but the details, the bottom, the base is not there.
Mm-hmm.
Now WordPress is coming the other way around. They come from the base, they have all the depth.
Yeah.
Now they put a good user interface on top of it, which is much easier, which would make me believe that they will succeed with this with that strategy. So it will be interesting to see.
Yeah, you can definitely tell that this update is, their first response to Google Core Web Vitals updates with page speed and user experience overall. I think that a lot of these updates are taking that into consideration and finding, unique creative ways to help your users kind of make that first step into like the benchmarks that you need to hit.
The page editors is definitely huge. There's a big companies living off the revenue. What is it? WP Baker, right?
Yeah, bakery. Yeah.
Baker is a big one. I think we use that too.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be interesting to see. Okay. What I want to talk about today is actually the advantages and challenges of diversified advertising. I saw a study that came out this week from Facebook, and then Markets Dive. They used that and had some additional research regarding diversified advertising. And 71% of consumers expect diversified advertising, but only 54% of people feel that they're culturally represented in online advertising, which is really, there's like a 20% difference, because it's rather short-sighted from brands, because 59% of consumers say that they are more loyal to brands that stand for diversity. So it doesn't really pay, or it's really, there's no advantage of not being diversified. And then, they further looked into, how it is very, categorized very often, and how people do the advertising. Women are more likely than are more than 14 times more likely to be shown in revealing clothes. And then the other on the flip side, which I thought was interesting, never thought about it, but then when I read it, I thought, oh yeah, I believe that. Men are more likely to be shown angry and less happy. So that's really more on the women's side. So the diversification is not always just, based on skin color and culture or whatever. And then also what's also interesting related to it's really not paying to not trying to be diversified is there was some research done, was really interesting. And the research was how much can an ad be recalled by people? How memorable is it? And it has shown that in 90% of the cases, you have a higher recall benefit with diverse advertising. That, in my opinion, that itself it's really a huge statistic. Now, the reason why we talk about this often, especially when it comes down to website development, but also even the advertising, or when we have new clients, we have these discussions with clients. And, let me preface by saying I want to exclude on what I'm saying now, the big companies that have the big budgets. But when it comes down to small business or mid-sized businesses that don't have the big budgets, it's actually not always that easy to have diversified, let's say, marketing done. Most companies, agencies like us and even non-agencies, they use libraries, image libraries, as the basis. And when you look at the image libraries, they tried hard the last few years to have more diversified images. So, generically, you can say, yes, I can find basically images for all kinds of, cultures and segments of the population. That is true. However, once we have specific needs or niche needs, the diversification becomes very, very difficult. To say, okay, let's say an orthopedic practice might say, we want to have all cultures represented, all skin colors or whatever. It's easy. But if you say, I'm a cardiovascular practice, and for that, for a specific service, I want to have people at the age of over 60 or over 70 being active outside. Once you get specific, it becomes actually very difficult to get to. It's not as easy, I should say. It's the better way of saying it, to do diversified advertising. And I think the industry, especially the image industry, still has a long way to go. And on the consumer side, we should keep that in mind, that for small businesses, it's not always that easy to be diversified and be good at the same time, because at the end of the day, you want to have imagery that fits to what you want to convey. So you have to weigh diversification versus not quite having the image that really fits to what you want to convey. It's a real challenge, and I think it's not talked about enough, because I think we should keep, companies like us, we should keep pushing, basically the behind the scenes industries and companies that actually are partially fall on driving some of the lack of diversification.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, for someone who's using, Shutterstock or Adobe Stock almost every single day, I agree that's, one of the more difficult tasks that I have. And it is our responsibility, you know, when we do use these services, that we provide them the feedback that we're not finding what we're looking for. And I think, you know, that's why a lot of small businesses have started also using platforms like Canva, where you kind of create your own, you know, branded imagery rather than using like these lifestyle stock images. I think people have started shifting into more, you know, patterns and text based imagery and things like that. Which, I mean, after a while also gets boring when your whole feed looks exactly the same. So it's about finding that balance.
Yeah, I agree with you. And we always recommend to our clients, if they can afford it, to to use non-stock image, meaning we have a videographer and a photographer on staff, and so whenever we prefer. And they're also just more genuine. Consumers react better to real imagery that are custom to your company.
Yep.
But again, it's not always that easy. So very interesting. Okay, that concludes this week's podcast. I hope you thought it was interesting. I certainly was. See you next week.